All right, good. So everyone has their Bibles open to Genesis chapter 6, lesson 9, preparation for the flood. So you saw on your worksheet the life of Lamech just before Noah, okay, on the timeline there. That's basically what we left off. We don't have a lot of the history other than just some of the generations. A little bit about Jabal, Jubal, Tubal, Cain. A little bit about Enoch, who's taken to heaven. And now we jump right into the life of Noah here. Okay? And so we're going to pick up in chapter 6, starting at verse 1. And first we start out a little bit with why. Why will there need to be a flood? God needs to show us the reason why. Not to justify himself, but probably more to warn us, to teach us of what we need to be careful of. So, chapter 6 will begin the reading here. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Now let's stop there. Who are the sons of God? What line would they be coming from? We looked at the two lines on the back of that graph yesterday. Where would they be coming from? From the line, the sons of God would be coming from Joseph, the lines of Seth. And then we have the daughters of men. Now, those of the line of Seth are also sons of men. But in a sense, they're sons of God because they're from God's line, the line of Seth. But what about these daughters of men? Whose line do you think they were from, Amber? They were probably from Cain. And why were these sons of God tempted to marry these wicked wives of Cain? Kenton? They were beautiful. They were fair. And they decided those things were more important than godliness. Rather than marrying a godly woman, let me marry a beautiful woman. Okay? We think of Rachel and Leah. Rachel loved her father's images. Leah was the humble one, the better choice. Okay? But Jacob decided, I would rather have Rachel. Okay? So we see that here again. Beauty is not the most important thing. It's the godliness. Because it led these men so that pretty soon we know all the earth will be living in sin except for Noah and his family. That's it. That's all of God's church that will be left. Verse 3. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. That much longer. And there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually, and it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. We'll go on just a little bit further. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. So he found grace, and now he walks with God. And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. I asked a few things there. Corrupt, what does that word mean? Something that's corrupt. What'd you end up putting there? Jaden? Something's corrupt. Wicked. Something's wicked. Anybody else maybe a little bit different? It's nice to have sometimes a few different ideas just to help get a full idea of the word. Logan? Gone bad. Joe? Having a willingness to act dishonestly. Good. Those are all good definitions of corrupt. And that's what we see, that these sons of men, or sons of God who married the daughters of men, they became corrupt. Okay? So, what we see here is that the wickedness increased probably with each generation. It kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse until pretty soon there are hardly any, save 8 souls on the earth who love the Lord. Okay? And so it's going faster and faster. They're living more and more in men's sin. And already the world is filled with wickedness. Okay? So we saw why. We talked about that because of the wicked marriages that were happening. God's church members were leaving and finding daughters of men. Okay? And that's very difficult because in marriage, maybe you've been to a wedding or two and maybe you paid attention to some of it or not, but some of it where it talks about 2 flesh become what? Colin? One. Okay? You have to have one mind, husband and wife. They both have to think alike. Now, they won't agree on everything, but when it comes to God, they must think alike. We will go to church. We will go on the Sabbath day. We will hear the preaching. Okay? We will raise our children this way. Okay? They have to have one love. That's the Lord. Okay? They have to have one speech, and that's God-glorifying speech. They must have one faith, the same faith that loves the Lord and believes in Him. Not 2 different faiths, one that's this way and one's that way. That's not always great. Okay? So, here, we see that. But the sons of men, most of them, we don't see them, we can probably guess, they did not want godly wives either. It doesn't talk anything about the sons of men, but we can imagine that they also have ungodly wives. So basically the whole world is being filled with sinful people. Okay? They were not, being a friend with God. That covenant, remember that God established? What's that? What is God's covenant? What's the definition? We said 2 F words. Remember? Definition of the covenant is, Logan? Friendship and fellowship with God. Well, that's what these people were saying. They wanted no more to have friendship and fellowship with God. We don't want to be part of the covenant. They threw it away. Okay? And so, even though they came from the line of Seth, and they should have chosen Christ, they knew better, they did not, and they chose rather to live like the line of Cain. Okay? Now, here we read giants. What do you think when you... I know what I think when I read giants. What do you think when you read the word giants right here? Micah, when you read the word giants, what were you thinking? What's that? Big people. Maybe how big? 10 feet tall or something. We know that in the time of Goliath and the Philistines, there were large men. Okay, very tall men. Probably that tall. God had given to some of the groups of Canaanites, the men and women living there, the ability to have large sons and daughters. And that may be the case here. There may be that they were very tall, like we think of Goliath. But also, if we go back to Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal-Cain, they were giants in their areas. They were men with great knowledge and great power. They had physically fit bodies. They were intelligent, brilliant. They did all of those things. And so in that way, they could be giants too. Not necessarily just physically, but they're men of renown, it says there. What is that? I asked you that word there, renown. Define renown. Colin, what'd you have? Famous. Amber? Well known. Micah? Honor. Okay. If you're a man of renown, we can say that maybe here in Wisconsin, Scott Walker is a man of renown amongst the Republicans, not amongst the Democrats, right? Okay. But the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, would he be a man of renown, would you say? What do you think? Jaden? Yeah, he's well known. He's famous. He's honored, as Micah said. So those are the types of men that we're thinking about. Probably men just like Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal-Cain. Okay? But basically they are all still living in sin before God. Okay? So the earth is filled with wickedness. Every thought, every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Okay? They would not listen to any of God's laws. Okay? And that's why I actually do that T-chart. I think you guys did a good job there of what were some maybe wicked things that were going on in Noah's days, and probably were very similar to some of the wicked things going on in our days. A difference, obviously, would be technology. Okay? Probably not computers and the internet and that type of thing. But wickedness, sinfulness, living with more than one wife, or divorce and remarriage. Okay? And being happy with that and thinking it was okay. Sabbath desecration, or offering things to idols. We see that in the world around us. Right? You can go all over the world in different countries and see that. So those, you guys nailed there. There's so many different things that we could put there. And you guys, I think, did a good job of doing that. Okay? Now, we need to go on, though, with that word there. It can be a bit difficult when it says God repented. Okay? What do you think that means? God repented. Maybe we can start a little bit back before that. Was the earth and man, were they getting out of, like you say when you're driving the car down the road, maybe you're going fast and all of a sudden things start to get out of control and you're worried was the earth getting out of control? And was man getting out of control? Logan? Why not? Logan says no, and I'd agree with him. So let's see if our theories are correct. Why not, Logan? Anybody can help them out if they agree with them and they've got an idea of maybe why. Why can we not say the earth was out of control? Megan? All right. Very good. The idea here is God is always in control. This is part of God's marvelous and infinite plan. Okay? So no, the earth is not out of control on its own and just spiraling downward and man as God's got to rein it back in. There are some people that believe that. They believe that God has set the earth at its own and now it can do its own thing. No, God is always in control. Okay? So we could imagine maybe God we know through Noah preached, but God also speaking to them. Okay? But God's cup of iniquity here is full. Okay? It's very full. When will God's cup of iniquity be full again? Micah? The end of the world. Okay? That sin, the sin of the world, its wickedness, fills up God's cup of wrath and indignation. That cup of iniquity is filled, and when it is filled, that's when God will come to once again destroy the world. Okay? But these wicked people would not listen. Okay? Now God maybe here in this situation, He made and He allowed the wickedness to accelerate before all of God's people were swallowed up, before even Noah and his sons. Okay? And so we see that in 120 years He prognosticates that He will destroy the earth. But anyways, let's take a look at Noah though. What did Noah find in the eyes of God? Colin? Grace. And I put that there. One benefit is that God told Noah His secrets of what He would do. Okay? Read verses 17 and 18 and list two secrets God reveals to Noah. Now that was a tough question to ask you, so that's why I want to make sure we go over it here. And if you don't have the right answers down, make sure you write them down in case we're tested on it. But in verses 17 and 18, okay, so before we do that, and I want you to think about that as I read it to you, because sometimes if I just read it, sometimes we don't think about it. That's why I want you to think about it now. So I'm going to pick up at verse 14. I'll read to the end of the chapter, but specifically when we're reading 17 and 18, think about there are three promises God makes there to him. I only asked for two secrets. Verse 14, so here's God's command now to Noah, because of all the wickedness and violence in the earth. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. A window shalt thou make to the ark, And in a cubit shalt thou finish it above, and the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof, with lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it. And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark, to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female. Of fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, and of every creeping thing of the earth after his kind, 2 of every sort shall come unto thee, to keep them alive. And take thou unto thee of all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it to thee, and it shall be for food for thee and for them. Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him, so did he. Okay? Verses 17 and 18. What are 2 of the secrets? There were 3. What are some secrets that he told them? Promises, you could say 2. Kenton, give me 1. Okay, he would destroy the whole world with a great flood. There will be a flood, even though it's never rained. Micah? I will establish my covenant with you, Noah. Well, they will build an ark, but there's something that we want to do with that ark, that the ark does for them. That's the third promise God promises. Amber? Save them. He will keep them safe in the ark. So I will establish my covenant with you, Noah. I will keep you and your family alive, and I will send a flood. Those are 3 things, secrets that we see here in verse 17, 18. No, God only tells them to Noah. Okay? Now, could Noah look up into heaven and see the eyes of God? Noah found grace in the eyes of God. Is that what that means there, do you think? Kenton? Nope. Okay. The idea is here is the heart. Okay. When God looks down at Noah, he sees Noah, and God is pleased with Noah. Not because of what Noah did by himself. And so we see there that he sees into Noah's heart, and he sees that grace that he has put there, that graciousness, that faithfulness that we read about in Hebrews chapter 11. Okay? So, that's getting a little bit ready. We'll talk a little bit more about the flood and the ark next time. The only question I have for you is that other word there, pitch, a noun, not a verb. I pitched the ball. But what is the idea here of pitch? A thing. Because he had to pitch it within and without. Amber? Say it again, a little louder. Okay, like a caulk. Did anybody else have something maybe they want to share, a little different? Like tar? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Nope, we got that. Yeah, the idea here with pitch is a sticky substance that's waterproof. Okay? Back then, it would have been a probably tar-like substance. Okay, that could be found probably bubbling out of the earth in areas. You could maybe use it to light on fire, to have fires. But it was tar, it's petroleum-based. In other words, it repels water. So you could put that in the cracks between the boards, even though they might be minuscule, cover the whole outside of the wood, and it would float. Okay, pitch it within and without. Caulk is what we use mainly nowadays. If we're going to put windows in a house, you caulk around the edges so that no water can get in or out of there. It's waterproof and it's sticky, and then it dries hard. Probably just like this here. So that pitch will do that. Okay? So, we see the wickedness of the world. We see why they are going to be destroyed. And we see why God loves Noah, because God can see into his heart. And God sees into Noah's heart, and there it is. It's a heart that loves the Lord, and so he finds grace in God's eyes. Hopefully, that's the same for us as well. God looks into our hearts. He can see everywhere, all the time, and he sees that we love him. He sees that we're thankful to him for all that we've been given, and in that way, too, he sees that His graciousness, His kindness is at work in our hearts as well.